Picture this. A 5-year-old kid in Tokyo gasping for breath because of a heart condition so bad that simple activities left him struggling. Fast forward 13 years and that same kid becomes the All-Japan karate champion. Fast forward another decade and he's the face that launched 1,000 throwing stars. The man who made an entire generation believe that ninjas were the coolest thing on the planet. This is the story of Sho Kosugi, the martial artist who didn't just ride the wave of 1980s action movies. He created the tsunami. But here's what most people don't know. His journey from a fisherman's son to Hollywood's Ninja King came with a price tag that included family fights, career sacrifices, and a disappearing act that lasted nearly 2 decades. What really happened to the man who made black pajamas and katanas the ultimate symbol of being a badass? Born on June 17, 1948 in Minato, Tokyo, Shoichi Kosugi entered the world under situations that would have made most parents protective to the point of suffocation. His father was a fisherman, and the family didn't have money to spare. But poverty wasn't the biggest challenge young Sho faced. He suffered from a heart condition that made breathing difficult, turning everyday activities into exhausting tests. Most kids in his situation would have been wrapped in bubble wrap and told to take it easy. Sho's mother had a different idea. She signed up her struggling son in a local karate dojo when he was just 5 years old, hoping the training might make his weak lungs and fragile body stronger. It was a gamble that paid off in ways nobody could have predicted. By the time Sho turned 8, his health had improved dramatically. The wheezing kid who couldn't catch his breath had changed into an athletic powerhouse. He also did great at baseball, becoming so skilled that Japanese university and professional teams started checking him out. He had a real shot at a baseball career. But fate and Bruce Lee had other plans. Here's where the story takes its first major turn. At 18 years old, Sho Kosugi became the All-Japan karate champion. The kid who could barely breathe a decade earlier had just proven he was the best karate person in the entire country. He'd mastered not just karate but judo and kendo as well, creating a martial arts foundation that would later make Hollywood producers' jaws drop. But Sho didn't see his future in martial arts, at least not at first. His dream was international finance. So at 19 years old, with his family scraping together money for a one-way plane ticket and just $120 in his pocket, Sho Kosugi left Japan for Los Angeles. It was 1968 and America was about to get a ninja it didn't know it needed. Sho signed up at California State University, Los Angeles, going after that bachelor's degree in economics he'd set his sights on. But here's the thing about true martial artists. They can't turn it off. Even while buried in textbooks about market trends and money policy, Sho continued his martial arts training with an intensity that was almost like an obsession. He wasn't happy with just keeping his karate skills. He started learning Chinese Xing-I Quan, Korean Taekwondo, and additional Japanese styles, eventually adding Aikido, Kabuto, Aikido, and Ninjutsu to his list of skills. By the early 1970s, he'd competed in hundreds of martial arts tournaments all over California. And then Bruce Lee happened. The Green Hornet hit television screens, and Sho watched Bruce Lee move in ways that made martial arts look like poetry written in violence. His sister pushed him to try acting, and the international finance dream started to fade. Sho started taking whatever acting work he could find, which meant a lot of background extra roles and blink-and-you-miss-it appearances. He showed up as a passerby in The Godfather Part 2 in 1974, a role so minor that most people don't even remember it existed. He appeared in low-budget Taiwanese and Korean films, playing forgettable characters that did nothing to show off his real abilities. 4 years, this was his reality. A martial arts champion working as fancy set decoration. It would have been easy to give up, to go back to that economics degree and settle into a normal life. But Sho kept showing up, kept training, kept waiting for the opportunity that would change everything. That opportunity came in 1981 from Canon Films with Enter the Ninja. Sho wasn't even supposed to be in front of the camera. He was hired as a technical advisor because of his skills in ninjutsu. But the producers watched Sho demonstrate techniques, saw the way he moved, the precision of his strikes, the smoothness of his weapons work. They realized they had something special on their hands. His role was rewritten and expanded, changing from a minor background villain into a big character. When Enter the Ninja hit theaters, audiences didn't care about the plot holes or the cheesy dialogue. They cared about watching Sho Kosugi move like water and strike like lightning, performing real ninjutsu with weapons most Americans had never seen before. The film became an unexpected hit, and suddenly ninjas were everywhere. Kids wanted ninja stars for Christmas. Toy stores couldn't keep ninja weapons in stock. Dojo sign-ups went through the roof. The ninja boom had begun, and Sho Kosugi was ground zero. Canon Films immediately wanted more. But this time they wanted Sho front and center. That's exactly what happened with Revenge of the Ninja in 1983. Sho played Cho Osaki, a ninja master whose family is killed by rival ninjas in Japan, forcing him to move to America with his young son. The plot was pure action movie stuff. Cho opens a doll shop, unknowingly bringing in heroin for his business partner, who turns out to be a ninja drug smuggler. When the truth comes out, all hell breaks loose. Here's where things get interesting from a family view. The young son wasn't played by some random child actor. That was Kane Kosugi, Sho's real-life son, making one of his first film appearances at just 8 years old. Kane even kept his real name in the movie, creating this cool layer where you're watching an actual father and son playing a father and son on screen. The kid could already move, already had martial arts training that most adults would want. Despite being made on a tiny budget with production quality that could nicely be called rough around the edges, Revenge of the Ninja became a cult classic. The acting was often wooden. The voiceover work was hilariously bad in places, but none of that mattered when Sho Kosugi was on screen. His fight scenes were years ahead of most American action films. Canon rushed out Ninja III: The Domination in 1984, a crazy film involving an evil ninja spirit taking over a dance instructor. It was Canon's misguided attempt to combine ninjas with breakdancing and possession horror, creating this Frankenstein's monster that somehow works because Sho's presence keeps even the most ridiculous moments grounded. But then came The Master in 1984, NBC's attempt to bring ninjas to primetime television starring Sho alongside Western film legend Lee Van Cleef. The show was directed by Robert Clouse, making him the only director to work with Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and Sho Kosugi. But somewhere between idea and execution, something went wrong. The show felt formulaic and lasted only 13 episodes before getting cancelled. Years later, VHS tapes appeared in rental stores under the name The Master Ninja with packaging that made them look like brand new ninja movies. Kids everywhere spent their paper route money on these tapes only to discover they were just put-togethers of 2 TV episodes strung together. It was a greedy cash grab that eventually gave the show a second life as Mystery Science Theater 3000 material. Between 1985 and 1988, Sho became a factory for ninja movies, making films that ranged from brutal revenge tales like Pray for Death to absolutely insane spy parodies like 9 Deaths of the Ninja, featuring a wheelchair-bound Nazi villain with a pet monkey and a henchwoman literally named Honey Hump. He faced off against Jean-Claude Van Damme in Black Eagle, appeared in productions with his sons Kane and Shane, and built a family martial arts dynasty on screen. His wife, Shuk Kim Kosugi, who was Chinese, kept a private life away from the spotlight. But here's what most people don't realize. All of these films featured Sho's voice being replaced by other actors. Studios didn't trust foreign actors' accents, so they hired voice actors to replace Sho's dialogue after filming, sometimes with hilariously mismatched results. It robbed his performances of realness, turning him into basically a very skilled stunt performer whose voice got replaced. And yet, his physical presence was so commanding that audiences didn't care. Then something happened that nobody saw coming. By 1990, American audiences had grown tired of watching black-clothed warriors throwing ninja stars. The market had been flooded with low-budget ninja films, and what was once fresh had become the same old thing. Sho Kosugi, the man who'd sparked the entire thing, suddenly found himself without the Hollywood career that had defined the previous decade. So, he left, returning to Japan for television productions. In 1992, he starred in his biggest budgeted film, Journey of Honor, a samurai epic featuring screen legends Toshiro Mifune and Christopher Lee. But American audiences didn't show up. Sho didn't retreat into bitterness. He started a taiko drum group in California and founded the Sho Kosugi Institute, designed to help Asian actors break into mainstream American movies. He'd seen firsthand how difficult it was for Asian performers to get meaningful roles, how they were typecast, how their voices were literally replaced. His institute aimed to change that. He contributed motion capture for the PlayStation game Tenchu, Stealth Assassins in 1998, remained active in Japanese television, and gave lectures about his 9 levels of power philosophy, a code of conduct emphasizing personal growth and martial arts discipline. But while Sho was building his post-Hollywood career, something was happening in his family that most people don't talk about. Kane had grown into a tough martial artist and actor in his own right, training from infancy and building a successful career in Japanese television and film. He starred in Ninja Sentai Kakuranger, competed on Sasuke, known in America as Ninja Warrior, where he became the first American to reach the final stage, and worked with legends like Jason Statham and Jet Li. But here's where the family drama enters the picture. Sho had built the institute with the expectation that Kane would help run the schools and continue his legacy. Kane chose to focus on his own career instead. And when Kane left to go after his own path, reports claim he took some of Sho's staff with him. This wasn't just a business decision. This was a son rejecting his father's vision for the family legacy. According to multiple sources, Sho Kosugi and Kane Kosugi were seemingly no longer on speaking terms because of this split. Think about what that means. These were two people who'd fought side by side on screen, who'd built careers together, whose relationship had been shown in film after film. And over career choices in the direction of a martial arts institute, they stopped talking. The rift was real enough that it got written down in multiple entertainment databases, but neither Sho nor Kane ever discussed it publicly in detail. This is the part of Sho Kosugi's story that doesn't get told in the highlight reels. The ninja master who'd inspired millions couldn't bridge the gap with his own son over work differences. Kane went on to marry, become a father in 2019, and build his own legacy. But that family unity shown on screen in the 80s, behind the scenes, it had broken in ways that money and fame couldn't fix. For nearly 2 decades, Sho Kosugi remained largely missing from American movies. He'd teach workshops, give lectures, and keep his schools going, but Hollywood had forgotten him. Then 2009 happened, and Sho reminded everyone why he was a legend. Ninja Assassin, produced by the Wachowskis, cast Sho as Lord Ozunu, the lead villain opposite Korean pop star Rain. This wasn't a nostalgia cameo. This was a big part in a major studio production. At 61 years old, after a 20-year absence from Hollywood, he proved his martial arts skills remained razor-sharp. His performance was widely praised for bringing seriousness and authenticity the film desperately needed. He wasn't trying to recapture his 80s glory. He embraced being the villain, and he absolutely nailed it. Ninja Assassin reintroduced Sho Kosugi to an entirely new generation of fans who'd never seen his classic films. For them, he was just this incredibly skilled older actor who moved like someone half his age. For older fans, it was a triumphant return, proof that time hadn't hurt his abilities. The film reminded Hollywood that Sho Kosugi was still here, still capable, still relevant. So, where does that leave us? Sho Kosugi is now 77 years old, still living in Los Angeles, still teaching martial arts through his institute. His legacy is complicated, layered with triumph and tragedy, cultural impact, and family drama. He single-handedly made ninjas cool in Western pop culture, creating a thing that influenced everything from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to video games. Walk up to anyone who grew up in the 80s and say ninja, and there's a decent chance they'll picture Sho Kosugi throwing ninja stars with deadly precision. He created a pathway for Asian martial artists in Hollywood, even if that pathway was limited and frustrating, even if it required his voice to be replaced and his roles to be stereotyped. His films, even the terrible ones, became cult classics exactly because his authentic skills lifted material that had no business working. You can put Sho Kosugi in the most ridiculous plot, surround him with the worst actors, and he'll still deliver fight scenes that make you sit up and pay attention. That's rare. That's why people still talk about his work decades later, why martial arts film scholars study his contributions. He proved that authenticity matters, that real martial arts skill shows up on screen in ways that wire work and editing tricks can't copy. The relationship with Kane remains complicated, with both men successful in their own right, but going after separate paths. Reports suggest they're still not speaking, though neither has publicly confirmed the status of their relationship in recent years. It's one of those Hollywood family dramas that doesn't get the attention it deserves because both parties have kept dignified silence. But it's there lurking beneath every discussion about Sho's legacy, raising questions about what it costs to be a legend, whether professional success can make up for personal loss. What we're left with is a legacy that refuses to fade. Sho Kosugi's name is still the same as ninjas in Western culture, still brings up memories of Saturday afternoon martial arts movie marathons and VHS rentals that got watched until the tape wore out. His 9 levels of power philosophy still inspires martial artists worldwide. His institute still operates, still trains new generations, still works to create opportunities for Asian performers in an industry that remains challenging to break into. At 77, he still practices martial arts regularly, still teaches, still lives by the principles he spent a lifetime mastering. The ninja craze he sparked may have ended 35 years ago, but Sho Kosugi's impact hasn't gotten smaller. Every time a film features authentic ninjutsu, every time a martial artist performs weapon techniques on screen, Sho's influence is there. He showed Hollywood what ninjas could be when played by someone who actually knew the arts, who had spent decades perfecting techniques, who brought cultural authenticity to a concept that could easily become cartoon nonsense. And he did it despite the replaced voices, despite the low budgets, despite the family conflicts and career setbacks and industry prejudices that would have ended most people's dreams. That's the real story of Sho Kosugi. Not just a martial artist who became an action star, but a man who created a cultural thing from nothing, who inspired generations despite industry limitations, who built multiple careers across continents and decades. The fisherman's son from Tokyo who could barely breathe as a child became the All-Japan karate champion. Then the economic student. Then the Hollywood ninja king. Then the forgotten legend. Then the triumphant returnee who proved age is just a number when skill is authentic. His films may be products of their time, often cheesy and low budget and rough around the edges. But when Sho Kosugi is on screen, none of that matters. You're watching a master at work. So yeah, the ninja craze ended. Hollywood moved on. Audiences got tired of throwing stars and katanas. But Sho Kosugi, he's still here. Still relevant, still inspiring, still proving that authenticity and discipline create legacies that outlast trends. The ninja master who defined a generation hasn't stopped defining what dedication to craft really means. And maybe that's the most important lesson his life teaches. It's not about riding the wave until it crashes. It's about being the kind of person who can create new waves whenever the old ones die down, who can reinvent without losing core identity, who can inspire multiple generations without compromising the authentic skills that made them special in the first place. That's Sho Kosugi. That's the legacy. That's why his story still matters, even in a world that's forgotten what made ninjas cool in the first place.